Alrighty, I hope that you can all see the screen that says Analytics Portal here. So this is the equivalent of a home page. This is created as a true demo. Obviously, the data is from real data, as Jim mentioned, off the standard analytical files. However, it has been scrambled such that none of the names are real and so on and so forth, just to make sure that we don't get into any HIPAA violations. This is a completely open forum for any of you to use in terms of the initial dashboard that you see here, which is constructed, if you look across the top here, as convener, physician group, physician, provider scorecard, and so on. I will show you these. In the demonstration, we've created these as fixed objects for the sake of the demo, but they are not fixed from your point of view. So you can create any set of tabs that you wish to have as you see, as well as the topics and the items that appear in this dashboard are completely variable based on what you would want to see. So if you're a group, let's say like Ortho Virginia is, where they have multiple locations, the convener could be Ortho Virginia as a whole, and you could look at separate tabs for each one of the regions, whether it be north, central, south, or whatever one wishes to call them, as you drill down. But I wanted to show you some of the functionality that's built into any of these, regardless of what your dashboard would look like. Here, if we look at the convener dashboard, obviously you can see a map on the upper left and a bar graph in the middle, a pie chart, and a couple of other things based on key performance indicators, trending, and average episode cost, chosen for some of the typical ones. Again, you can change any of these to be what you want to see. For me, this is a fixed item today. Right. However, let's say if we take a look in the upper right panel of clinical episode mix in this pie chart, we've got information for cervical spine fusion, lower extremity joints, upper joints, so on and so forth. And let's say I want to take a look at just the upper joints and redo this dashboard for just that. I can come into this little set of squares on the upper right, right-click on it, ask to use it as a slicer, come over to the portion of the pie chart that was for upper joints, and it will redo each one of these dashboard components to only display those things pertinent to upper extremity joint replacements, not the entirety of all of those episodes put together. And of course, we can do the same thing for any one of the other ones. Let's reset here. We can, oops, that's not the way to do it. We can do the same thing if we want to look at lower extremity joints, which is obviously the biggest piece of pie, since it's the largest episode, and display all of these same key performance indicators. Okay. Now, if I was to look at this, and I hope you would too, if you've been in the program before, and I saw a 7.5% IRF rate in this, I would say, I'm not doing very well in this particular parameter. But this is the type of instantaneous data that you can get out of this. Some of the fields have the capacity to do this, other ones don't. You can even go into, if you wanted to look at the trend and say, all right, I'm looking at the trend here, I'm looking at the month, I'd like to know what's happened here. If I just do a rollover of the mouse, it'll tell me this is April 2017, there's the episode count, right? If I want to gain a little more data, I can actually use this one as a slicer as well, choose that same point for April, and start to look at data that's based in the month of April in each one of these parameters as is available. You can notice that the one on the right doesn't have data for this particular time. That's a function of using a truncated data list for the generation of the demo that would not appear in the real data set for you. And I did that purposely so you understand that these things are real and live, as opposed to I'm showing you screenshots that are memory. This is the real thing, okay? If we move over to another portal, and from this particular setup, we'll go over to a physician group. Again, you are in complete control of what is shown here and how you wish to see it. It's a very similar for the physician group perspective on the left in terms of the pie chart, the trend account for the group. This is a particular group, and I'm looking for the group name, and I don't remember where it is, and it's not listed over there, so this is fine. It is a fictitious group no matter what. On the right, you can see your listing of physicians, and you've got a physician here, Anna Mead, on the top, has done 94 episodes. And you might be asking, well, what episodes are these, right? I know Anna Mead, she does upper joints, she does lower joints, and she does a couple of spine cases, right? And maybe that's true of some of the others. And so you can drill down within these, and I'm going to show you capacity about how you drill down and how we generate some of our reports to change what you see here. And what you see on the screen in terms of this kind of column setup, you will be able to set what shows up each time. This is prefixed with these particular columns in terms of episode count, average episode cost, comorbidity average count, but it doesn't tell you which comorbidities it is, readmission rate, IRF rate, and SNF rate. So we're going to click again on this, but we're going to left click, not right click. And that will take us to the exact same chart, but it'll take you to the detail that goes into it. All right. Now, the way the demo is set up, I can't change these columns, but you would be able to. You change them by putting information up here in the top. The PGP name here is Bozak physician, so those who know Bozak will actually know the name, but it doesn't apply to any real information. However, what we can do is we can play live just like you would anywhere else with the components within here. So we see, let's just say one of these physicians does all of these cases and we want to know more about them. So what we have is the physician name, but we don't know what episodes they are. So let's take a look and see what episodes they are. So we're going to come over to the left-hand side to the measures. We're going to take this DRG, we're going to drag the DRG over here. And if you notice that, we'll put that just to the right on the side, and then it puts a little plus over here. So let's click on Brandy Wood on the plus, and you'll see that all 26 cases that they had were in DRG 470. If we click over on Anthony here, and this one will take a little bit to go, and of course I'm trying to find somebody who isn't all in DRG 470, and that never happens when I want it to. There we go. So Anjamid has both 469 and 470, and you can see the breakdown in there. But let's say you want more detail. And what kind of detail would you want? Well, maybe you want patient information, or maybe you want to know about readmission rates. All right, so let's take a look at the patient and say, let's look at some patient detail. Again, you move it over here, you see the same pluses over here. Of the 470s, there are 71 of them. We'll take a look at individual patient profiles. And it does take a little while, the more that you have in here. I will apologize for the time span from here. We're working on not our native web information in terms of our internet access just yet. Anytime somebody wants to get Spectrum to come in and finish the installation, I'd appreciate a call to them very much. Here again, we have patient information. Obviously, the patient identifiers are scrambled, and you can start to see information based on each patient in each one of the tables that are listed here. And so this allows you drill down capacity. You can see on the left-hand side that there's a near infinite amount of things. Anything that's available in claims, we can actually put in here and start to do drill downs, even down to sub-claims level detail in terms of ICD coding. I cannot do that in this demo. That is not part of the way we've set up the demo, but it will be available for you to use in a live system. At this time, I want to move over to something a little bit different here. In terms of the information that's presented in the chart, you can see that there's 3 tabs up at the top as a grid. You can present this either as a grid like that. You can finish presenting it as a chart. You will get to choose what type of chart, whether it's a column chart or any one of a series of others. And you get to choose the colors and whatnot. Well, this is perfect. Why is this important? Because it's perfect for demonstration as you start to create PowerPoint presentations and anything to your physicians, to your board of directors, whatever it may be. Everything that you see, whether it's a chart, a graphics, or a generated report, can be downloaded as either an Excel file or as a PDF file for you to use in whatever format you need it to run in. It will generate a full report so that you can actually print that. The print capacity is added here, as well as the ability to take the report and create an Excel or PDF file. I'm going to move back over to some of the other tabs, excuse me, so that you can see some of the other variability. Some of these things will look the same from a physician perspective. This would be for a single physician. Physician is located on the right. This is for a physician, a fictional one named Kent Bishop. There might be a Kent Bishop somewhere in the US, I don't know. Again, a dashboard a physician may wish to look at. You can change this as you wish based on what the physician looks to see and the format that they wish to see it. If they don't like the speedometer dial type things, then you change that to some other look. Okay, all of that works fine. Provider scorecards. This is not the equivalent of a physician scorecard. There can be a physician scorecard in here. It is not part of the demo in terms of how a physician is doing. This is a provider scorecard, so you can start to look at the other providers that actually touch a patient, including the post-acute care providers. It comes across in the demo as a simplistic version initially without any detail. You come over to the left-hand side and click on the Analyze button. It will break that out just like it did before as we looked at into the creation of that table. And you can start to see a breakdown of the skilled nursing facilities. You click on this and you'll get those provider names, which of course will be fake. Actually, they're even coded as you start to look at provider names. And just like we did before, you can start to drag information in here from the list on the left, add it to the button list here, and it will then produce these same plus and minuses where you can click on and drive down into more detail. For the sake of time, I don't want to reproduce these over and over again. One of the things that you should like about this is we're going to show you the direct readmit rate from a particular provider. We can do this and take a look and say, well, what DRGs do they originate from? So I'll bring that over here. And you can see that we've added stuff to the provider. I'm going to find something with a reasonable count so we don't take forever to go around in circles. They do 460 and 470, and you can see that all of the direct readmits are coming from 470 in this term. So, you know, one could look at this and start to work on understanding from this particular provider, do you have too many direct readmits back to the hospital? If so, why? And you can start to make these choices as you create a preferred provider network. The rest of the tables here do the same thing. Again, the comorbid analysis is probably the most interesting as we start to look at this. Again, a table of physicians, the comorbid count. You'd want to know technically more information as opposed to just comorbidity. So again, what patients do these apply to? Which ones are they? Well, the comorbidities are already in here. And so if we take a look at Anthony Char, which is the second one, you can see here's the list of comorbid conditions and the count that they have for all the episodes that are in there. If we added DRG to this, which I will go back and do, slide this over, we'll add this in. Obesity, right? There were 12 of them. Which DRGs are they in? All of them are in 470 because that particular physician, if I remember correctly, only does 470. And so if we look at depression here, maybe we'll take a look at, there's your breakdown between 460 and 470. So we'll give you all of this information. It is completely user interface done. And you have the flexibility to create any output of information or drill down capacity that you want. Obviously, we will help you learn how to go through the system. The biggest thing to know is what is available on the left-hand side in terms of these options that you wish to drag in, and you will have the capacity, of course, to change the columns or add columns to any one of these charts as you see fit, something I cannot do in the demo. I did want to show you one other thing as we take this demo, this brief demo to a close, and that is, in addition to the dashboard capacity, there is something that can be done which physicians may like, the groups may like, and certainly the care managers will like, which is what we call subscriptions. And in this subscription, what you can do is create a subscription such that you get timed reminders of whatever it is you wish your dashboard to send you. So you could get a report every week of your dashboard so that you don't have to come live. It'll send it to you by email. You can actually also put in here if you have parameters that you wish to meet. Let's say that you're concerned about readmission rate and you're working on that and your readmission rate drops to your threshold. It will tell you when you've reached your threshold so that you can apply a new lower one if you want to. Or alternatively, if you set an upper limit threshold and something changes, it will then signal a message to you when you've reached that upper threshold saying, basically giving you the information, hey, something has changed and we're going a little bit off track here, so that you're aware of it right away. I think that will cover as much as I want to cover here. We'll obviously do this in more detail at a slower pace when there's a little more time than this particular presentation.
And this is Jim again. I think we're obviously going to be at the mid-year here shortly to be able to walk people through this some more. A lot of this, I know there's probably specific questions that folks may have about this. And so happy to set up some individual meetings and kind of walk through the capabilities of the system and try to get you comfortable with how you'll use the system. I think one of the things I want to just kind of back up on is and point out again is we realized when Mike was when we were putting this whole system together that it was going to have a lot of power and a lot of capabilities, and it was going to grow and get more powerful and more user friendly as time went on. And a lot of this, you have a lot of capabilities early on. One of the reasons we wanted to dedicate more actual data analysts to our staff was to really help you and have somebody there when you're going, okay, I got a lot of options. What the heck do I actually put on this dashboard? Having somebody there that you can spend some time with and can say, hey, go in here, drop and drag this. This will be easy. Let's set this up as a standard part of your dashboard. Let me help you configure that for you. So providing you the resources to make full use of this analytical system. And I think, here, if you look at the analytics portal and you think, okay, from our perspective, we'd have convener, physician group, physician, and kind of break it down in that manner. Well, we can set this up, and I'm going to use two groups as an example. We could set this up for Ortho Virginia and work with Barbie to set this up in a way that this would say Ortho Virginia, and then those physician groups could be the different regions, right? North, Central, West, however many regions you guys are going to have as your next group, and then subset that even into divisions, right? So we can work with you to set up what's that process look for you. Or we could look at a group like Ortho Illinois that says, just inside the Rockford area, we want Ortho Illinois, but we kind of want to break it down by our hospitals or break it down by our divisions, right? However you want to break it down, we can work through that process so that you can set up those dashboards. This is a very configurable system for what your needs are. So when we look back at the subscriptions, if you're working with, hey, the CEO just wants to see how well you're doing, a few key metrics, that's fine. We can establish and set up those metrics, and he can get a regular subscription. If you need a specific dashboard or information that comes over to each of your doctors on that subscription, we can set that up for your physicians also. And you can have really a countless number of subscription options that you could utilize that could be directed to each particular individual, whether it's a care manager, whether it's the head of your PT, whether it's physicians, whether it's the CEO. Each of these individuals can have a specific amount of specific information, a specific subscription that goes to them. And they can also have a specific type of portal that they log into so that it looks different for each of the people logging in. So just want to give you guys some understanding of the flexibility of the system. It has a lot of flexibility, a lot of configurable systems inside of it. As we begin to add more and more data sets underneath this, we'll have the ability then for you to actually look at those different data sets. So this is obviously from one perspective, which is just data from one source, let's say BPCI. Well, if you're in BPCI Advanced and you're in a different bundle payment, you may want to aggregate that data, you may want to separate that out. In either one of those instances, we can do that for you. So again, we'll wrap up the webinar here. Thanks everybody for jumping on for this period of time. Any questions, feel free to shoot over myself, Ryan, Jerry, any one of us, and we'll aggregate those questions up, address them next week on our frequently asked questions webinar. Any interest in doing a deeper dive specifically around the analytics portal for your particular group, feel free to reach out to us because we can set up a time to walk through that. And again, just to kind of recap, we'll be sending this out as a recording. And then second, any groups that have signed up with us will be sending you out a data report likely this evening or tomorrow. They'll give you a snapshot into some of the basic reports we're going to be providing that are actually part of this system also. So thanks again, everybody, for jumping on. We had a great attendance, and